So, for part 2, the first game we come to is the Cleveland Browns and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that game will take place, hold on just a second, I believe that game does take place in Tampa Bay. Jake Delhomme, who came over from the Carolina Panthers in the offseason, is the starter for the Browns this year. And of course, Josh Freeman will be the starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, no offense to Cleveland Brown fans, no offense to the Tampa Bay Buccaneer fans, but this game right here is one of the games of the bad. The Browns, I think, will be okay. I think they'll be okay this year. Remember, they started off the year last year, winning 4 in a row. They looked okay in the preseason. I think they'll be okay. Tampa Bay, I think, still has a lot of work to do under the Raheem. I think that's his name. Under the Morris regime. But, you know, Jake Delhomme, he started the year off rough last year with 18 picks for the Panthers, if you remember. And I don't see really either one of these teams making a drastic improvement. Record-wise, I think the Browns could possibly pull off a 500 record, maybe. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will still be under 500. But you never know. In the first week of the season is always the toughest week to pick because you really don't know what to expect. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers really did get themselves a little bit of help in the draft, but I don't really know if it's going to make that big of a difference. With them, Gerald McCoy is who they picked up, so that'll help them a little bit. You know, Gerald McCoy will probably be all over the field trying to pick off Jake Delhomme. The Browns, of course, did pick up Colt McCoy. He was a late draft pick, really much later than what people expected him to go, including me. What do I expect from this game? I expect an ugly game, to be honest. I expect an ugly game. I do, however, expect a Cleveland Brown victory. And I probably shouldn't say that, but, well, yeah, I think I do. I do agree with that, with what I just said, with going with the Browns in this game. Tampa Bay Buccaneer head coach is Raheem Morris, by the way. So I was right. I just double checked on that to make sure I got it right. But you know, Jake Delhomme, not a bad record in his career against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Delhomme is 9-2 as a starter. Kellen Winslow, former Brown, now a Buccaneer, set a Tampa Bay franchise record for catches last year as well. Plus, Barrett Ruud is always a tough man on that Buccaneer defense. He has led the team in tackles for 3 consecutive years. So, but boy, you know, I honestly think that the problem Cleveland has is they're not going to be able to make much of a move in the AFC North. You know, you look at who's in the AFC North. Cincinnati Bengals, going to be good this year, I think. Pittsburgh Steelers, going to be good. Might have a rocky start with, you know, Ben Roethlisberger being out for the first 4 games. Baltimore, you know, is probably going to be good. Tampa Bay, they might make a little bit of ground in the NFC South. Carolina, if Carolina plays the way they looked in the preseason, Carolina is going to be awful. Atlanta is going to be okay. I don't think they're going to be great. They might even be good. I definitely don't think great. I think the Saints will still win the NFC South. My AFC North prediction is tough. I think it comes down to the Bengals and the Ravens is ultimately what I think it comes down to. I think both those teams are going to be good again. Both playoff teams from last year. I think they will be playoff teams again. Maybe throw Pittsburgh in the mix, depending on how they look in the first 4 games. I actually don't think they're going to look that bad against another NFC South team, the NFC South team that they're going to be playing this week in the Atlanta Falcons. So it's going to be interesting, but ultimately I do think that it is going to be a Baltimore and Cincinnati for the AFC North. Pittsburgh might throw their name in there, but I really don't see them winning the AFC North. I think the AFC North this year does ultimately, in the end, belong to Cincinnati, to be honest. I think having T.O. and Chad Ochocinco is going to help them a lot, and I do believe that Cincinnati wins the AFC North, and I believe that the Saints win the NFC South without a doubt. I can't see the Atlanta Falcons competing with the New Orleans Saints. I could be wrong, but ultimately that's just how I feel right now. Like I said, my overall pick, I do have Cleveland beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday, so I'll take Cleveland for that game. The next game we come up to is the Miami Dolphins Buffalo Bills. That game is in Buffalo. And I mentioned earlier about a lock pick that I'm going to have, and I think that will be my lock pick for today. Or for Sunday, rather. I'm saying Miami will for sure beat Buffalo. That's my lock pick for today. I tell you though, CJ Spiller was taken by the Bills. I think the Bills. Yeah, I think the Bills with CJ Spiller. Bills got a good pick in CJ Spiller, and I think that it will take a little bit of time. Maybe not. He might be good Sunday, I don't know, but I do think that CJ Spiller will be an explosive running back on this Buffalo Bills squad. And but right now, the problem that both these teams are running into right now are injuries. You know, Jake Grove, the center, has a shoulder injury. His status is unknown for Sunday. Channing Crowder has a groin injury at linebacker. He's questionable. Brandon Marshall has an ankle injury. Jake Long has a knee problem, and they're both probable. The Buffalo Bills not looking good for injuries at all. Antonio Coleman out with a hamstring injury. Kawika Mitchell out with a foot injury. Reggie Torber out with a chest injury. The good thing for them is safety Jarius Byrd is probably going to go. He's out with a groin injury. But you know, Chad Henne, I tell you, Chad Henne, I think is going to have a good season. I don't think great. I think good. I think Chad Henne very improved over last year. And if Chad Henne does falter a little bit, remember I believe they still have Chad Pennington, but they do have Chad Henne. And the Buffalo Bills have Ryan Fitzpatrick, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Trent Edwards are the two Bills quarterbacks at this point, which don't have a lot going for them. You know, the Miami Dolphins, of course, known for definitely running the Wildcat. I remember a couple years ago they ran it all over the New England Patriots. And I expect they'll run it all over the Bills, and I think they'll run over it successfully. And, you know, everybody's saying that the Miami Dolphins have a slight edge over the Buffalo Bills. The Miami Dolphins, I don't think going to be a stupendous, tremendous team this year, but I think they'll be good. I think they'll be good. But I think that I think they'll be okay. You know, Greg Camarillo was a big team leader in receiving last year for the Dolphins. He's gone. Like we mentioned in part 1, he is a Minnesota Viking now. But the Miami Dolphins now do have Benny Sapp, so that's one thing that they can look forward to. T.O. is gone. Out of Buffalo, you know, he had the 55 receptions for 829 yards and only 5 touchdowns. You know, so I don't really know. Ultimately, Miami will ultimately win this game. That is my lock, and yeah, there's really not a doubt in my mind. You know, Ricky Williams has 5 1,000-yard rushing seasons. You know, one of them was last year, and you know, I think that he will pick up where he left off last year and do the exact same thing. And you know, like I said, I think it's a lock, and I think Miami wins this game quite easily. It's going to be a lot easier to do these previews starting next week, I promise. Since we'll have some stuff to base off of. I'm going off last year's stuff, which is kind of tough. So this isn't going to be a very good recap, but you know, very good week for recaps. But I promise next week will be a lot better. So check them out then. Coming up in the next video, we're going to stop it here. We're over 14 minutes. Coming up in the next video, we are going to try to get 2 more games in. The next game we will look at, Cincinnati and New England. I think I have a surprise that you guys aren't expecting. So just a quick recap of the first 2 games that we went through. I've got the Cleveland Browns beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Miami Dolphins beating the Buffalo Bills, and that is my first lock of the season.